Welcome to the Leading Hope Podcast with Kevin Jack. Your influence will lead people somewhere, lead them towards hope. Everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.
Welcome to Leading Hope with Kevin Jack. I'm your host, VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. We release a new episode every Wednesday, so we'd love for you to share on social media and bring others along with us on this journey of becoming a better leader. Visit leadinghope.online and get updates. Find out more about the Leading Hope community. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now if you're watching on YouTube, or rate and review. You will not believe how that helps us get this into the hands of so many more leaders like you, and it means the world to us that you do that. It's so fun to hear your stories. We are in episode 59, and you called this, let's see, I forgot, episode 59.
Episode 59.
Episode 59, and it's a new filter, and that's why I wore this hat.
Well, all right, I'm not going to bury the lead at all. We'll get to the hat in just a second if you're watching. No, yeah.
I'm wearing the hat then.
If you're watching on YouTube,
Yep.
we'll address that. So, not burying the lead because I want to spend all of our time applying it and going through it, but I believe it's a really powerful idea. Here it is.
Ready.
Make your decisions primarily based upon maximizing future joy. Let the number one filter for the decisions that you make be about how can I increase at the most my and others' future joy. So when VJ came on the podcast and he said, should I wear this hat? Does it increase joy?
Man, I am pumped right now, so I
Yes,
am
it does.
excited.
Yes, it does.
all the joy.
hat increases joy. So we don't. Now, we don't do that. Can we just acknowledge that? We don't do that. And I'll give another way to frame the question at the end if maximizing future joy sounds a little off-putting for you. But now, just for the second right now, let me apply the power of it in the decisions that we make. So as we go through, if you think through the tough decisions that you have to make. So let's say as a leader, the personnel decisions that you have to make. Let's say you have to make the decision of letting someone go. Now, I want to give a waiver to our team real quick because sometimes they misapply the podcast to themselves. For example, when we were doing the podcast, the 2/3 rule of decision making,
Yes.
Our tech director, Brian Hill, was in the room and he's like, was that about me?
Was that me?
I didn't do that with that camera. Was that about me? No, this isn't, it's not.
I'm sweating.
I want you to apply it if you're not living up to it. But no, we did not write this about you. So you're good, guys. You're good. But the dynamics of letting someone go. What's the filter that you make that decision? You make the decision through, man, how's this gonna affect this? How's this gonna impact that? What's the response gonna be? How are people gonna feel about this? Is anyone gonna get mad? Are we gonna get sued? Do we have the right to fire? Are we working in that environment? And it creates all this complexity. And here's the deal. If they're not a cultural fit, or they're not a skill fit, they're not up to the level of excellence, they're not going to be fulfilled long term. That's just the reality. You go, hey, if it's not working, and we always tell ourselves, oh, we'll make it work. Oh, this can work. Of course, we'll figure out how this should work. If it's not working and they don't fit, you're not only reducing the joy of the team. Yes, you're reducing the efficiency and the connection of the team, but you're not only reducing the joy of the team, you're reducing the joy for that individual as well. And so while that decision may bring initial pain, it will ultimately bring long-term joy. No one wants to be stuck in a job that they feel like they don't fit in. And we don't make this decision through the lens, through the filter of joy. And if we did, I think the decisions would get a lot easier and they would get a lot clearer. Let's say through the filter of your career. In that dynamic of say, hey, as you're making decisions on your career based upon, should I take this job? What is the opportunity? What experience will I gain? What are the perks that I will receive? What is the position that I have? What is the title that I have? What if you filtered all future career opportunities down to this question? What will bring me the most future joy? Which job, let's say you're coming right out of college and you have 4 job offers available for you. And you're trying to figure out, do I maximize a boss I want to work with? Do I maximize starting pay grade, a big company, a small company in which I can do a lot? What if you just said, hey, what will bring the most future joy? It simplifies the question and you're able to interpret it more clearly through your values. As it comes to ethical decisions, moral dilemmas you have in your job. What if you asked, what will bring the most future joy? Here's the reality. This is what I wrote in my notes. We violate ethics because we lose long-term perspective and isolate the immediate. We violate ethics because we lose long-term perspective and isolate the immediate. You would not lie. You would not cheat. You would not steal if you could see the long-term ramifications of that decision, even if you don't get caught, okay? Even if you're never found out. Like, it still has long-term ramifications on your character and trends that are created in your life. And you are able to gain a long-term perspective by simply going, what will bring me the most future joy? Now, I want you to think through for just a second. How do you currently make decisions? How do you currently make your decisions in your leadership? My guess is it's one of the following questions. What is the easy thing to do? What will create the least resistance? What is the popular thing to do? What will be most accepted and approved of? What is even the greatest impact that I can make? And what if you switched all those questions and just said, hey, what will bring the most future joy in hiring? What will bring the most future joy? Is this person, am I hiring because I like them, but they're not going to really be able to do the job? Or switch that. Am I hiring because they'll be good at the job, but I'm going to hate working with them? Like, what will bring the most future joy? As you're changing careers, what will bring the most future joy? As you're looking at moral dilemmas, what will bring the most future joy? Let me give you another frame for this, because this is what I believe, if this is more helpful for you. For me, the joy frame works well. If you need another frame for this question, simply ask this. What is the wise thing to do? Wisdom is about joy. Wisdom gives us a long-term perspective. And I want to just kind of implore upon you a very simple, but I believe a very powerful idea that applies to your leadership in your work, for yourself, in your family, in your personal development. What will bring the most future joy? And when we boil decisions down to that simple question, I think we're going to make better decisions. I think we're going to have far less regrets in our life, and we're going to do things that are far clearer to us because it amplifies our own values. What will bring the most future joy?
Future joy.
Future joy.
So I put this hat on, and when you came down, you said, leave it. Leave it on.
Leave it on.
Because I was going to take it off, and I left it on. What made you say that?
I don't think it applies that well to the podcast. It's just, it's just fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But decisions of fun over time become who you are, not just what you do.
Oh, look at that.
Right?
You spiritualized a New Year's Eve hat. I'll take it. Oh. And now we're getting serious.
Now I got this hat. No, I'll put the other hat on. Well, listen. That's what you're saying, though. You're choosing joy.
Yeah.
And so talk about, and this happens all the time, right? We have this with all the people that we're leading, the people we work with, is people want immediate gratification versus lasting joy. So put that hat on and tell us why and how we overcome that.
So,
see what I did there? Put that hat on.
Oh, that was good. That was I missed that. I'm glad you pointed that out because I really did miss that. Yeah. Let me say it like this.
Genius.
I think we overcomplicate it and we assume there is a tension between current feeling and future character. Okay? We think that's what we're deciding between. We're deciding between what I want to do and what I should do. And that is not the dilemma. That is not the tension. there is a tension between what feels good in the moment and what will bring lasting joy over a lifetime. The tension is between what I want to do and what I will wish I had done. Did I explain that clear enough?
Yeah.
And so we think current happiness and long-term morality are at odds with each other. No. Quick pleasure and long-term joy are at odds with each other.
Yeah.
And if we can't see that it's the same emotion that we're pursuing, we just need that same emotion on a future-based perspective. And so it's going, hey, will eating this bring me future joy? We think it's like, I really should lose weight and I should get in better shape and other stuff like that. Working out, I should work out and I'll probably feel better when I'm done, but I would much rather stay in bed now. And we make this dilemma, I want to, but I ought to.
Yeah.
And go, no, quit doing that, because you're always going to choose the feeling over the should.
Yeah.
Like you're always going to choose the emotion over what you ought to do. And so go, quit changing the framework. It's temporary happiness versus future joy.
Yeah.
Not temporary happiness versus future obligation.
Yeah, that's clear. That's really good. That makes it very obvious as to what we do. Now we have to decouple our feelings sometimes in the moment for the joy that's going to be the future. What do we do there? What's the principle that we need to lean into that says, okay, it would be much easier for me to eat the bag of potato chips than it would for me to go to the refrigerator and pull out the healthy stuff because it's easy in the moment. What do we need to do to decouple that feeling from the long-term joy we'll find in doing the right thing over and over again?
I think this is far simpler than most people would think it is. We ask the question. And we don't overcomplicate it. And we don't make it about 1,000 different things and come up with all these different reasons and why it's so complex and why it's so hard. No, it's joy. It's all joy. Like that's what it's always been about. And we change the questions in 1,000 different ways. And in doing so, we paralyze ourselves from making any decision. And go, no. What will maximize future joy? That's it. That's all it is. If you can train yourself to ask that question, I think the results will be far easier to step into.
Agreed. Let's take a different take on this.
All right.
So we'll talk about, because that's the obvious stuff that most of us don't do. We've all been guilty of taking what's easy over what's right, or what's easy over what will benefit us long term. Let's talk about always thinking about the future joy. So future fatigue, let's call it that, where you're always constantly, what are some things that you need to do that are immediate to help you get the narrative into the place in which you will ultimately always be choosing to figure out what the best thing is, but you need to make sure that these are the things that you do always in order to accomplish that.
I'm poorly equipped to answer that question because I live in the now.
Yeah.
Like I don't struggle with not being in the present because I love the present.
Talk about that then. Talk about that. The difference between always trying to look into what's the best thing future versus what I just need to do today.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I say that as just like, I don't necessarily chalk that up as a character trait for myself. That's probably more personality.
Okay.
I've never struggled with living in the future. Like I plan for the future.
Yeah.
But it's not, and I say that as to put this in full context, there are people who they always forsake the present for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's always like they can never enjoy the moment.
Yes.
They're always looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's just never been an issue for me all of my life.
I got you. Cool, man. The other part that you discussed, you talked about make your decisions based upon maximizing future joy. And this is a little bit more of the same kind of idea, is that for me, I know that today has consequences, in that I only have, God has only provided X amount of time. Mm-hmm. So I do live in the day, but knowing that today does have an impact on tomorrow. For someone like me who's trying to straddle that line of today versus tomorrow, what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm actually doing what I need to do today on both sides of that aisle, both sides of knowing both, hey, I'm here today, right? I need to make sure that tomorrow actually is impacted by the things I do today, but not get so far out in front of myself that I've caused pain on today and not actually been impactful for tomorrow.
So we go back, like StrengthsFinder stuff.
Yeah.
Like one of my 5 is futuristic. And so that it naturally progresses towards the future. I'm living in the present. And I don't say this as a contradiction from what I just said. Okay.
Right.
I'm always thinking about the future, but I'm living in the present.
Yes.
And there is a weakness on the other side.
That's the question. That's exactly what I'm asking. I didn't do a very good job asking it.
Okay.
That's it. How do you do that? Because that's so, man, as leaders trying to, I mean, you look at.
Okay. Let me, okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
I got a beat line.
Like Elon Musk.
Yeah, on what you're saying.
What they're doing with the Tesla and all that things. It's hey, they've got to build it today. There is something out there for tomorrow.
Yeah. So I believe that our imagination of the future is cultivated by narratives of truth. And so let me explain that. And to go, the benefit of the counselor is not just the training. The benefit of the counselor is the experience.
Yeah.
That when you hear similar storylines over and over again, you can naturally and quickly draw out recurrent themes and what the conclusion of those themes are. When he does this, it will eventually lead to this.
Yeah.
And so it is not, the training matters, but the experience, I believe, matters even more. That you hear these things over and over again and you can go, this is what this leads to. And so I'm in my 30s. Future joy is easier for me to predict than it was when I was in my 20s. Because I have more narratives now. I have more storylines. And so I think that if that's, say, a struggle. So let's say it like this. If you're in your 50s, hopefully this isn't hard.
Right.
Like, hopefully these decisions are really, really clear. You just haven't connected it with the emotion of joy, and that's really what you're after. If you're in your 20s or you're a teen, this is probably more difficult. And so I think one of the most significant things that you could do within your life is to just immerse yourself in narratives from others and storylines from others. And so one of the things I do just constantly is I am constantly reading or listening to through audiobooks, biographies of different people. And when I hear their stories over and over again, and these decisions led to this, it helps me far clearer see this is what leads to joy.
That's really good. Yes, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I need to go. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this myself.
It took us 3 minutes to figure out the question at the core of it, but we got there, guys. We got there.
Yeah, that's excellent. I love that too. There is no substitute. There is no substitute for experiencing something.
Absolutely.
And that's a powerful statement in itself that you have to actually go through it. I love that you said that you know now way more than you did 10 years ago about what you need to do to get to where you need to go.
Could I counteract your statement for a second, but it'll just amplify it? So we say there's no substitute for experience. Yeah. And there's but the next best thing is knowing someone else's experience.
Yeah.
And so we like say that of just going, you don't, ready? Like, here's the thing I want to implore upon you. You don't have to learn everything out the hard way.
Yeah.
Other people already did. Like, this is just the reality.
Yeah.
Figure out what the people who made a mess of their lives, figure out what they did and don't do that. Like, just don't do that. And you already do this practically, because my guess is, like, most of us have had a bad boss.
Yeah.
And the entire time we were under a bad boss, we went, when I'm a boss, I'm never going to do this.
Yeah.
And that narrative, that storyline enabled you to gain wisdom, which is why we say, like, the other question is, what's the wise thing to do? And in doing that, create narratives of joy in your life.
Yeah, and when I say there's no substitute for experience,
I'm with you.
That was your experience of the boss. That's the experience. So I'm with you there. All right, that's fit, man. This started out really, really like funny and got really into the meat of the issue. I like that. 59, episode 59, 5-9. What do you got for us? What are we leaving with?
Switch your question. You're probably asking 1,000 different questions and you're making your life way too complicated. Switch your question to this. What will maximize future joy?
That's awesome. I thought you were talking to me when you said switch your question. Like, what other questions do you want me to ask you? But I will. I will do it. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Episode 59, A New Filter. Thank you for everything this week and everything that you guys have been continually doing through the podcast. It's incredible to hear your stories. If you haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us. Also, post about it, rate and review. You won't believe how that gets this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you. Visit leadinghope.online if you have a story of how the podcast is working in your life or business, and send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.